Well, historically, men have a higher overall rate of cancer than women, but times are changing. While 1.6 men were diagnosed with cancer for each woman in 1992, that number fell to 1.1 in 2021. And middle aged women now have a higher risk of cancer than men of the same age, while women under 50 are nearly twice as likely to be diagnosed with cancer as young men. That's according to a new report from the American Cancer Society.
Well, joining us on the Kogo News Live line is a man who lost his sister to cancer. He is the CEO of Cancer Check Labs, Sumit Rai. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is really fascinating. So, what do we know about what's causing the trend in cancer among young women?
Well, there's a number of factors that are increasing cancer rates across the population. So, first off, we're very sedentary, and so we develop metabolic syndromes, diabetes, obesity, etc. Those things make it easier for precancerous cells to be formed within the body. Second, we tend to eat very frequently. The human body biologically wasn't really made to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a commercial construct that started with the advent of grocery stores. The first one being Piggly Wiggly in 1916 in Tennessee. Historically, we lived in periods of feast and famine. And famine is important because it triggers processes known as autophagy in our body, which is our internal cellular recycling program. And that cleans up sort of precancerous dysfunctional cells. And when we eat too frequently, we block those processes and inhibit them to the extent that they need to happen, which increases cancer rates. And third, we have significant environmental and toxic exposure. And I think that's where women probably have more exposure, particularly because they tend to use more cosmetics. If you look at even simple things like acne products, the active ingredient in that is benzoyl peroxide. That's fine, except benzoyl peroxide is not heat stable and turns into benzene, a highly toxic known carcinogen. And it does that at levels that are several hundred to several thousand times in accepted standards. So when you combine these factors that we're developing these metabolic syndromes that make it easy for precancerous cells to form, when you think about the fact that we're not allowing our body to do these processes like autophagy that they need to do to clean up those cells, and then you compound it, accelerate it with all these toxic exposures, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's food, whatever we're eating, all of those things combined are going to exponentially increase cancer rates at half.
So I just thought of something that I wanted to bring up, and this might be a stretch. But do you think social media, like maybe TikTok, has an effect on this with all these young women who are posting all these videos about face creams and makeups and things like that?
Absolutely. I think it's causing people to believe that that is the norm and that is how you should behave. And then people aspire to be like influencers, and that makes them use more of these products. And a lot of those products are not really safe. A lot of those products have chemicals in them that cause cellular damage. And when you have cellular damage, you will have erroneous cellular replications, i.e., mutated precancerous cells. And normally, our body will clean those up. That's why we don't all have active live cancer. But sometimes our body's going to miss it, and those cells are going to go out of control, and that's what's going to cause a tumor to be born.
Now, you were mentioning about we're eating too many meals. So, some of these fasting diets might actually be good for us when it comes to cancer rates.
Yes, I mean, obviously, check with your medical provider if you're going to fast, but fasting is very critical in order to let your body do autophagy, as I mentioned. Autophagy is auto itself disease, self-eating disease. So what's happening there is, if you're fasting, your body is still alive, your cells are still turning over, old cells are dying, new cells are being formed, and those new cells that are being formed need the building blocks of new cells, which are basically amino acids that come from protein. So if you're fasting and you're not eating protein, your body still needs those amino acids. So what it will do is it will go out and it will look for basically damaged, precancerous, mutated, dysfunctional cells, break those down selectively, and use the amino acids from that to rebuild healthy new cells. And when we eat too frequently, we don't allow that to happen. This allows an accumulation of sort of damaged precancerous cells to build up in the body, which increases the risk of cancer.
Interesting. CEO of Cancer Check Labs, Sumit Rai, joining us on the Kogo News Live line. Sumit, thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.